What's up, guys? Welcome to Mike Yourself, and today is Review Wednesday. For today's video, what I want to go over with y'all is what tools I carry in my bikes to make sure that I'm able to be self-sufficient. So we're going to cover what's in each of these packs. I'll show you how we pack them up, and yeah, just kind of walk through what tools I do have, and let me show you how I overdo it. Damn it! All right, guys. So I'm definitely one of those people who over prepare for trips, and I don't know. I just like to be prepared, just in general. So I typically carry a toolkit with my bike wherever I go. I just like to be kind of self-sufficient. It's just the way I was raised and how I've done things. And the hardest part for me is drawing the line as to where you got to kind of, cry uncle and stop packing tools, right? Like it gets to a point where it's too much, right? You're not going to be able to do a full tire swap on the side of the road by yourself because you probably don't have a spare tire with you in the first place. And that means you need to carry like this tire spoons, and everything else. So you got to figure that there's a line that needs to be drawn and say, okay, these are the things that I'm mostly likely going to encounter on the road, what I'll need to address, and how I'm going to address those things. So let's take a look at these toolkits. And I've got two different ones. So one, which is on my right side here, is the toolkit that I carry in my Road King. And then the one here on my left side is actually what I carry in my Road Glide. Now, the reason I have two different tool sets is because I've found some differences. So those are the things that you're going to need to account for. What is specific to your bike? Because you may have some aftermarket stuff that maybe doesn't use SAE, but rather uses metric, and maybe you have some other stuff that is only strictly SAE, so whatever it is, right? That said, it's also important to just know that, again, you're not going to be able to fix everything. You just want to be able to fix enough. And there are things here that are not, shown that I would recommend you carry, things like fuses. If you have a voltage tester, so not so much a multimeter, but just something, a little probe with the light, so you can confirm whether or not you got power to something. It's also a really good thing to have to carry around with you. So let's take a dive into the Road King pack that I have and what tools are in it. And they're pretty close to the same thing, but they're just some little differences here. So let's talk about the wrenches. So for my wrenches, I carry a 1/2 inch, a 9/16, a 7/16, a 3/8, and then a 10 millimeter. So the 10 millimeter is important for two reasons. One is your battery, and then the other one is, I believe the brake caliper bolts are also 10 millimeter, and they're 12. They're the 12 point. So you want to make sure that the socket or the wrench you have or the socket you have can address that. Now, this 10 millimeter is short, very short. So of course, if you have to put any kind of torque on it, it's going to either hurt your hand or you're not going to do a really good job of torquing that thing down. So just kind of cheating tips for that is you can always use another wrench to latch on, and now you've doubled the length of that. So it gives you a little bit more leverage. The other thing you can do is also use things like a socket if you have one that just happens to be big enough to kind of get over whatever it is. So that way it doesn't hurt your hand as much. And we'll talk about that methodology more for the Allen wrenches and your torque spits. So those are the wrenches I carry. In addition to that, I also carry an adjustable wrench because random stuff, right? Or maybe you just need to hold one side or whatever it is. So these are really good. This is an 8-inch adjustable. I also carry screwdrivers. So I've got flathead Phillips. I've got the number 1s and 2s there. If you can get an all-in-one, that is preferred. So that way you can save the space of these 4 into one. It's just something that I don't have. So I just happen to have 4. I've got enough space in my bag, so it's okay. For sockets, I carry essentially the same size sockets as I do the wrenches, but with one additional socket, and that is the 5/8 socket that's used for the spark plug. So you want to be able to pull that plug out if you ever had to change one or check to make sure you have spark. You're going to need one of these to pull that spark plug out. And of course, if you have sockets, then you need to have a ratchet. So I just used a 3/8 all the way across the board. Easy peasy, right? You want to carry 3 Torx. So the 3 Torx that they call out in most Harley specific kits are the T40, the 27, and the 25. So I've got those. I bought this set. It was really cheap at Harbor Freight. I think it was Amazon. Sorry, Amazon. It came with many more, but you only need 3. So those are the 3. And as I had mentioned, if you need to get torque, so this is a bigger one, of course. If you need to get a little bit more leverage on this thing, then you can do it by using a socket, so that way it doesn't hurt your hand as much. Or if you needed to, you can actually almost do this the same way as you do the another wrench. You can use it kind of the same way. So if you need that additional leverage, try not to torque things down too crazy. It's for a quick fix. You really want to put the appropriate torque value on whatever it is you're tightening out there anyways. But of course, you're not going to carry a torque wrench with you. Then you want to make sure you carry your Allen wrenches. So they suggest about like 5 different sizes. This is a pretty small kit. This was like less than $2 at Harbor Freight. So I just throw the whole thing in there. So I have all these different sizes available to me. A multi-tool. These are great for multiple reasons, right? So you've got your needle nose, and then all the little different items that you have in there, maybe scissors or whatever. So that's really handy to have in there. I keep a spark plug gapper. Again, if you're going to pull that plug, you might as well check the gap to make sure you're good there. These are really cheap. You can get these on Amazon. You want to carry a tire pressure gauge, so that way you can check the pressure in your tires if needed. Some Loctite. This is a must-have. The bikes, they rattle, right? So you want to make sure if you have to put anything back, you throw a little bit of thread locker on there, and that'll keep it in place for you. A little pin light. So I know some kits, they offer like headlights and stuff like that. Pin lights work great just because it's easy to manage. And if you really need to, you could put it in your mouth and just hold it with your mouth in the dark. This one is from Harbor Freight as well. I think this was maybe like $10 or something like that. So not too cheap, but not really bad on the pricing. And, it'll work, right? Zip ties. So you definitely want to have those in case you need to zip tie anything up. I try to go for the long ones just because I can always come down to size as needed rather than have a short one and not have enough of them, right? And then if you needed for some reason to double up on these things, you could, right? You could just do that. So I usually carry about 5 of those with me. You can get a bag of 100 for like $2 at Harbor Freight, so no big deal there. Since my Road King has air shocks, I also carry a shock pump. Now this one actually is from a mountain bike brand, but this is the same deal that Harley does. So if you need to be able to put some pressure, and what's crazy is, with those shocks, you don't put high PSI. It's like between like 15 and 25 PSI. So you want to make sure that you have something that can measure down to that. You don't want to overinflate them and blow a seal or anything like that. So this pump works great for being able to do that. So I just kind of keep that in the saddlebag by itself, not in the pack. You're going to want some electrical tape. Again, just if you have a short, maybe a wire got melted or whatever, you want to protect that. You want to insulate it, so you can do that with some electrical tape. Now you don't have to carry the whole roll. The kind of trick to that is take one of your tools, it doesn't matter if it's a screwdriver or wrench or whatever, and you just kind of throw some of that around it. And now you've got plenty of tape to go with you on your trip. You'll be good to go. So now you have electrical tape with you, and it's not really taking up any more space. These are kind of bonus items, but I think they're very useful, especially if you're working anywhere in the engine area. If you're doing that, it's not because you're worried about getting your hands dirty, but you really don't want to take greasy or oily hands and then grab your handlebars and get that stuff all over your grips, especially if you're trying to hang on, right? Like that's going to get slippery, it's going to get on your stuff. So always good to carry a pair of gloves, especially if something that you're working on is hot. So if you're going to be working on anything that's going to be in the engine area, it takes a long time for that motor to cool down. Exhaust pipes cool down really quick, but the motor takes a long time. So you're going to want to have something on your hands to protect them from being burned. The other thing I recommend is I just carry 2 red shop towels with me just in case. Again, just something I can wipe down, whatever it is I need to do. Now, this is a bonus item because of, again, my over preparedness, and that is the ability to get some alligator clamps and a cigarette lighter socket, or a 12-volt now, I think they call them. I don't know, since smoking's not popular anymore or something. So you want to carry something like this. That way, if you need to operate like a USB charger that plugs in there, or a tire inflator, which we'll cover here in a little bit, you have that ability on a bike that does not have one built into it like the Road Glide does. And then the last thing is the pack that you put all these tools in. So this is actually one from while I was in service, and it works great. This is just a simple, MOLLE bag that you can put that stuff in. So this is one thing you can utilize, and it keeps everything nice and compact, easy to store. The tool rolls are kind of okay. The problem is when you start rolling all this stuff up, it gets really big. So something like this is really nice and helpful. It keeps it small. I'll show you another alternative to a bag like that that's very helpful and super cheap. So let's take a look at that. So over here on the Road Glide side, it's almost identical. And again, most of these wrenches I either had duplicates of, so I've kind of built these up myself. I didn't go out and buy one. And the reason for that is I saw some really good advice out there, and that was that if you want to make a good toolkit, you need to use it when you're working on your bike. And that makes so much sense, right? Like, how do you know if you've got the right tools with you if you don't ever make sure, you don't test it, you don't confirm it, right? A one fits all kit, to me, that, initially it makes sense from like a selling standpoint, like somebody's trying to sell that to you, that makes total sense. But in reality, you're sitting there thinking, how does that address everything? It doesn't, or at least the things that maybe you're proficient at. So you want to make sure that your tools work. So actually, as part of me building my kits, what I've done is I pull those out of the saddlebags while I do the work on my bike to confirm and understand that there are going to be specialty tools like a torque wrench that you're going to have to reach out to and use to make sure you're at the proper torque, but just understand like that's a one-off thing, right? So, and then again, limitations, right? Like, what are you going to do? You're probably not going to change a belt on the side of the road for the most part. I mean, depending on your trip, because you're not going to have a spare one unless you're being followed by a chase vehicle, but that's a whole nother scenario. Throw a whole toolbox in the back of that bad boy, right? Like a jack. You'll need a jack. So let's talk about the Road Glide toolkit. So again, same torques. We've got the ratchet. I just happen to have an extra extension that I threw in there. Same wrenches, a different adjustable. This one is some off-brand that I got off of Amazon. I've got this Husky. I don't know. It's got all these different bits, but you got Phillips, you got the flat head, and it has some torque bits on there and some hex. So I just throw that in there. It's not a huge space hog or anything like that. We've got the SAE, and I also have metric Allen wrenches. And the reason for that is because the pinch bolt on the front of the Road Glide, and I've checked this multiple times with the tool, it's metric. I don't know why. Maybe mine's different, but if it is because of that reason, at least I have it, and it doesn't hurt. My son has a Japanese bike, so having some metric with me isn't a bad thing. Again, the spark plug gapper, your Loctite tire gauge. This one just happened to be some like cheap giveaway one I got at one point. So this is really nice. It's compact. Again, saves space. Another multi-tool that I had. Some zip ties. Now, this I carry in the Road Glide, but I do not carry in the Road King. And the reason for that is the Road King has spoked wheels. And if you have spoked wheels and you have a flat tire, you have a tube. So chances are you're not going to be able to fix it with something like this. Now, if you watch some of my videos, I actually did plug a tire that way, and it was pure dumb luck. So I'm kind of proving myself or telling myself that I'm wrong, but the reality is the Road Glide has sealed rims, so a plug like this will get you by for a short period of time. enough to find you a place to either stay the night or get your tire replaced. So carry one of these with me. Again, super cheap. I think this one I got from Walmart for like $3 or so. Gloves, rags. So very, very much similar. Now the big difference here too is my bag. So this tool bag that I'm using here is actually an overnight bag. So this is for your toiletries. I got it at Walmart for like $3. And it fits everything very well and stays super compact. Again, my goal was to be more compact than the tool roll, and both of these bags do it very, very easily. And I've bought a tool roll from Harbor Freight, and it was like $11, and put my tools in it. One, it didn't even fit all the tools, and then two, when I rolled it up, like I said, it was huge. It was massive. It just didn't make sense. Some bonus things that you might want to consider carrying with you on your road trips, again, depending on the distance and who you're going to be around, that stuff, I worry too much. I don't know what it is, whatever. Things like a air compressor. So this one is made to work off of a cigarette lighter, hence why I got that thing. So I only have one, so I'll throw it in whatever bike I happen to be traveling in. That way, if I do get a flat, I use this, I need to be able to put air back into the tire. And if I'm not close to a gas station, if I'm on the side of the freeway, then I can go ahead and just throw this on and pump that tire up, no problem, right? I'm not so much worried about the Road King just because of the fact of that whole spoked rim issue. The other thing I like to carry is, and this one is actually definitely a space hog. I could probably take it out of its case to make my life a lot easier, but that is a wireless jump pack. So this is kind of the actual device itself. This one is super cool. I think I did a video on this one. It's got light, you can charge your cell phone on it, all kinds of cool stuff. But ultimately, if you end up with a dead battery for many reasons, you're able to go ahead and get your bike jumped and you can get going. So again, I sacrifice the luggage space for the tools because I want to make sure I'm going to be covered no matter what my scenario is. And then the last thing I carry around is some bungee cords because I don't have it on right now, but I do have a luggage rack and I want to be able to bungee stuff down, whether it's a box, a bag, or whatever, I can do so. Just kind of throw those in the bottom. Doesn't really get in the way. So these are the tools that I carry with me. And yeah, let me throw them in the bag and you can see what these things look like once they're all packed up. So let's go ahead and we'll go through the fast little, sped up process here. So there you go, guys. Get all those tools in their respective bags. Again, it doesn't take up much space at all. This is probably the bigger of the two bags for sure. I promise you can get by with less tools than I carry because I overdo it. And again, like I said, it all depends on where you're going and what you're doing. If you're going on an area where there's very little civilization around you, then yeah, I'd bulk up on more tools. If you're just kind of doing the 9 to 5, maybe you're a commuter or something like that, then generally speaking, you could probably get by without even having to take tools because you could always just call somebody to come get you from where you're at and it'd be local. Or you can just take a minimum pack. This is what I would consider my minimum pack, with you, so that way if in the event you had something that needed to be tightened, addressed, whatever it is, then you can go ahead and do that. So that's it. Pretty simple, like I said, straightforward. There are many kits out there, and you could pay a wide range of cost for them. I'm not going to tell you that I've done it cheaper, because, you know, to be quite honest, it would be hard for me to tally this up. If you want to keep your costs down, then hit Harbor Freight. Do your clearance items. Slowly build your kit up. Don't try to go do it all at one time. And the most important thing is definitely use your tools for working on your bike, so as you wrench through it, you know whether or not you actually need it. So yeah, so I hope you found this video valuable. I hope it brought you some information that you can use in your rides. And if it did, hit that thumbs up. If you enjoy my content, become a subscriber. I'd love to have you as part of our community and get some of your feedback. And if you don't want to miss out on that next video, hit the notification bell. And until that video does post, I hope to see you in the wind.